I have to give kudos to the Kansas City Royals and their 5-game World Series victory over the New York Mets. And what a series it was. The Kansas City Royals came from behind in 3 of these 5 games to win. And during the entire playoff run, I think it was 13 games, they came from behind to win. It might be 8. The numbers, I get them jumbled and run together. But regardless, it's a phenomenal feat, a phenomenal way to play baseball. But I have to tell you some observations. You know, sports has always been culturally an escape. It has been a way for people to escape the humdrum of the everyday life that they have. It's a 3-hour, now depending on the game you watch, 3.5-hour escape from reality. But in recent times, sports has really not offered a full escape because we've had to sit through lectures from sports commentators on gun control and gay marriage and civil rights and all of that. But this World Series, I have to tell you from top to bottom, was a wonderful escape, just like sports should be. There were no lectures between innings or in the pregame or postgame by vaunted sports commentators lecturing America on how they were misbehaving or not thinking the right way. Barack Obama was nowhere to be seen. Unlike the Super Bowl, there wasn't a pre-series interview with Obama, and he didn't put on a pair of mom jeans, go out there and throw out the first pitch looking like a girl. He wasn't anywhere near it. It was baseball. And it was incredibly exciting baseball. And look, I don't want to put too much in this. I mean, it's sports, as I say. It's an escape from reality, and I don't want to attach too much to this. But you know, I am an observer, a quite keen observer of things cultural and social and political. The Royals won this World Series because they trust their players. You know, Ned Yost never changed lineup. From the first day of the playoffs to the last night, the lineup was, other than the pitcher and designated hitter, the pitcher had to hit in the National League Park, but the lineup was the same. The players were the same. The bullpen was the same. The catcher, Salvador Perez, MVP, calls his own game with the pitchers. You don't see him look into the dugout much for each pitch sign. He calls it. As a general rule, it's not always the case, the Royals don't get bunt signs. They do that on their own. And as a general rule, they don't get steal signs. They steal bases on their own based on their feel for the game and based on scouting reports. Brian, you'll be interested in this. You know, one of the major lines of emphasis in the scouting report the Royals got before the World Series, make Lucas Duda throw the ball. Lucas Duda's the Mets' first baseman who threw the ball away as Eric Hosmer attempts to score from third on a routine ground ball to third base of David Wright last night. The tying run. Scouting, it's right there. Make Lucas Duda throw the ball. Then the next one is make the catcher Travis Darno throw the ball. So they're well schooled, and then they're trusted to play the game with what they know and their instincts. Hosmer went home on his own last night. That was his decision to make, about 2/3 down the line. They've learned how to play the game. I mentioned last week that the Royals, for the longest time, are not even a professional baseball team. Payroll was so low. Following the 1985 World Series, the death of Mr. Kaufman, who owned the team, it totally changed the structure and the budget, everything about the way the team operated. You could really honestly say it wasn't a professional baseball team. It was AAA. With a couple of major league players in the roster, and those always ended up leaving in free agency because the Royals' decision, and they had some financial concerns at the time, just not going to pay them. But Dayton Moore arrives from Atlanta in 2006, and everything changes, and they reinstill the development leagues. They reinstall the scouting department and build it back up, minor league system, develop their own players, and it just paid off. It really, you got a winning team without an authoritarian manager, without the benefit of universally acclaimed superstar. Well, Wade Davis is a superstar. But the Royals as a team are better than the individual parts. George Brett said after the game last night that he thinks this team's better than the 1985 team. He thinks this team, because of bullpen depth and speed, and the way they play the game, would have beaten the last Royals World Series team, which was 1985. And their payroll was about $115 million versus the Los Angeles Dodgers payroll of $300 million. And the Dodgers were eliminated in the first round by the Mets. Now, there was a controversial decision last night for a Mets fan, and that was Matt Harvey, known as the Dark Knight. This is a long, involved story. To understand everything about what happened last night, you have to know a little bit about the history of Matt Harvey and his Tommy John surgery and his agent, Scott Boras, and trying to put a limit of 180 innings pitched on the entire season. And anyway, that got blown. Here's the bottom line. Harvey was unhittable. Harvey just owned the Royals through 8 innings. Fox's cameras, instead of lecturing the country on gun control, Fox's cameras were pointed at the Mets dugout while the Royals were hitting in the what would have been in the top of the no, it was after the is going into the top of the ninth, and Matt Harvey is sitting on the bench, and the pitching coach walked over and told him he was done. And you could read Matt Harvey's lips, said, no way, no way. And he got up and he walked over to the manager, Terry Collins. I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. And the manager's got 40-plus years of experience in baseball, Terry Collins, 26-year-old young man, impetuous, just riding a high, and talked his way into staying in the game. When the manager wanted to pull him and go to they've got an ace in the bullpen, a guy named Familia. And Harvey talked his way into staying in the game, and we know what happened. Those of you watching it, the Royals tied it in the top of the ninth, and Harvey had to come out. And the debate throughout New York today is, gee whiz, what was Collins thinking? This is a no-win situation. If Harvey gets side out, it's the greatest managerial move in the world, investing in his player, leaving the player in. The player wanted to stay in, but given what happened, the naysayers, what's this guy doing? You never listen to a 26-year-old kid? Of course the 26-year-old kid wants to stay in the game. You got to follow the book. You got to follow your instincts. You got a bullpen ace. You got to go to the bullpen. It's unfortunate because it was such... It was a situation where there was, no matter what happened, there was going to be, at some point, a no-win. But at any rate, it's a great World Series, and I just tip my hat to the Royals and both teams for making it really entertaining and good. This is the first time, I worked for the Royals for 5 years. And when you work for a sports team, you lose some of the ingredients necessary to be a fan because it's your job. And like any other job, there are parts of it you don't like, and you just want to get out of there. And over my last year or so, I was praying they wouldn't make the playoffs just so I could have a normal day start in October rather than November. I mean, homestands are 18 to 20-hour days. At any rate, this last year and but really this year, was the first year since 1983 that I have really been following baseball and been into it. And I'll tell you something else. I went and played golf yesterday afternoon while the Steelers were on. That hasn't happened in, 30 years. Steelers on Sunday, and if I'm able, I'm parked in front of a TV. Yesterday, screw it. Went out and played golf. So we all undergo transformations of some kind. But anyway, I had to kick off today with congratulating everybody involved and sharing with you my observations about what a fun sporting event it was to watch, and I would have felt that way no matter who won. It was I would have been disappointed had the Royals not won. I was secretly hoping the Mets would win yesterday, take it back to Kansas City so the Royals could win it in Kansas City in front of home fans. But I said, no, you win it when you can. You don't. And they did. And the way they did it, there's nothing new in baseball. Everything that happens today has happened before in baseball. But there are stages. And these come from behind wins, which seems so common, and part of the Royals' recipe is unique to me. I have not seen a team this adept at rallying in the late innings after being totally dominated. They had 4 hits going into the 9th inning last night. They looked horrible against Harvey. And then, the top of the 9th, here's Matt Harvey, owns it and walks the first hitter and then gives up. What happened? What happened between the end of the 8th and the top of the 9th to Matt Harvey? Maybe nothing. But the manager yanked him. Should have yanked him after the walk instead of leaving Hosmer in. But that's what's great about baseball. You talk about all this stuff, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What matters is Obama signed this 2-year budget deal. And once again, Republican voters have been mocked and laughed at and made fun of after 2 consecutive elections, 2010 midterms, 2014 midterms, and you might even say the 2012 presidential race.